Our text today is the second last chapter of the book of Deuteronomy. This is the blessing wherewith Moses, the man of God, blessed the children of Israel before his death. With the words of this chapter, the life and labor of Moses have come to a close. On the morrow, the people will go forward, but Moses will go alone to the top of Mount Nebo to die. But the people will not go forward alone. The blessings of God and the last words of Moses will go with them. His father Jacob once gathered his 12 sons about his deathbed, as Abraham and Isaac blessed their children before they died, as Jesus gathered the 12 about him at the Last Supper and gave them a word to go on through all of the dark days which lay ahead, so Moses does in this chapter. There on the banks of Jordan, he repeated the law of the Lord a second time to them, which is what the name Deuteronomy means. In his Song of Moses, he warned them about forgetting God once they had it made in the Promised Land. Now in this chapter, he turns his attention to the future. There is not a single breath of complaint, no sniveling here of a defeated and dying old man. Moses does not see his death as the end of an era, but the beginning of a new age. He goes down like a grand old ship with all colors flying. His words are they of optimism, of hope and encouragement for the future. He lays an individual blessing upon each one of the 12 tribes. Reuben, Judah, Levi, Benjamin, Joseph, Issachar, Zebulun, Gad, Dan, Naphtali, and Asher. And at the end, he will bless the unified nation as a whole. And because the words are couched in poetic imagery, they sometimes are a little difficult for us to interpret them all. But he begins with this preface. The Lord came from Mount Sinai, and he came with 10,000 of his holy ones. And from his right hand went out a fiery law. Yea, he loved his people. All his saints are in his hand. They sat down, and every one of them received his word. Think of it. Of all of the wonders that they had experienced, of all of the proofs of God's power and faithfulness over the years, the 10 terrible plagues in Egypt, the parting of the sea, the pillar of fire, the manna from heaven and the water from the rock. Moses mentions the miracle of God's law at Mount Sinai. God spoke to you. God gave you his word. God entered into conversation with you, communion and fellowship with you. To Moses, this is the key that opens the door of the future. The law of the Lord is not a code of conduct, the constitution for the nation. It is a relationship, a commitment to your Lord, the glad giving of the whole of your life to him. Everything, literally everything, depends upon this. The relationship of the people to their God, children to their father, the beloved to the lover. When you're not talking to somebody anymore, we all say it. Oh, something's come between you. And when you're not listening to God's word anymore, when His Word is irrelevant in your daily life, then something's come between you and your Father. That relationship has been ruined. As you run your finger down the long list of blessings, you'll notice a strong military flavor of triumph wrought out of the blood and the smoke of battle, to teach them that the good fight of faith must be fought before it can ever be won. Hear, Lord, the voice of Judah when he goes forth into battle and bringing back to his people in peace. The men of Judah always marched at the front of the column. They were the first men to face any battle. They would win a victory by their own hands, and only, however, with God's help. The tone is similar in the blessing of Benjamin. The beloved of the Lord shall dwell safely in him, and he shall cover him all of the day long, and he shall dwell between his shoulders. The men of Benjamin, Moses prayed, will succeed not by avoiding the battle, but in the midst of the battle. It's what Jesus once said, Father, I don't pray that you should take my people out of the world. I pray that you would deliver them from the evil. And the lovely line, the soldiers of Benjamin will pitch their tents between the shoulders of God, borne up as a little child upon the strong shoulders of the Father. Levi was singled out for the religious role. The men of Levi were to be the religious priests and teachers, taking care of the sacred ceremony, instructing the people in the words of the Lord, and preserving the Urim and Thummim, words which mean light and right. And we lost the meaning of that, except to know somehow the high priest was able to determine the will of the Lord in difficult decisions by using the Urim and Thummim. Levi was singled out for this role because of their faithfulness in the time of testing in the wilderness. How they were faithful, we are not told. Just this, that their loyalty to the Lord claimed a higher allegiance than to their kindred and their family. Levi said of his father and his mother, I never saw him. He didn't recognize his brothers, nor did he see his own children. They observed thy word, O Lord. They kept thy covenant. That total dedication to the Lord, supremely loyal to him above all others, won for him the religious role. Therefore, bless, O Lord, his substance, and accept the work of his hand. The blessing of Joseph is the longest in the chapter. In keeping with that boy who was once separated from his family, who rose to high position in Egypt, who saved the people during the 7 bad years of famine. And later, when he had the chance to take vengeance upon the brothers who betrayed him, said, you thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, as it is this day, to save much people alive. upon the two sons of Joseph, the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh, Moses implores the richest blessing from heaven and earth, the sand and the sea, the mountains and the hills, the plains and the valleys. Others of them are much shorter, but beautiful still. May Reuben live and not die. The man Reuben never distinguished himself. Neither did his descendants. Well, then let him be distinguished in staying power and in endurance. Live and never die out. Dan is a lion's whelp, with all of the youthful exuberance and enthusiasm of a young lion, who one day shall mature into a grown lion. And how about this line to Asher? As thy days, so shall thy strength be. Moses forestalls the fear that all of us have. The fear that we shall live longer than the desire we have to live. That the job will be too great, we won't have the strength to get it done. That the burden that is ours in life to bear, our strength will play out on us. As thy days, so shall thy strength be. And Moses sums it all up at the end. There is no God like the God of Jeshurun, who rides to help his people upon the heavens and cometh from the sky. The glory of God's people is not the people but God. There is no God who can bring down help from above and lavish such love upon his pet, his darling, Jeshurun. The eternal God is thy refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. Times change, don't they? Customs, names, and places change. But God is eternal. Your rock of refuge, your fortress and hiding place do not change. In all of the storms of life, when you've got things to do and nobody to turn to, even in face of the inevitable fact of death, the eternal God is your refuge. And underneath are the everlasting arms. How many times hadn't Israel found themselves falling beneath the wheels of the Egyptian chariot, falling from hunger and thirst in the desert, falling down in weariness from the long wilderness march. And every time they fell into the everlasting arms. Few passages in all of the Bible have meant more to people in their daily lives than this. Underneath are the everlasting arms. To know that there is a sustaining power beneath us, undergirding and upholding us. That was the key to Jesus' life. Look at the hectic pressures that were part of his daily diet. Aside from the hours of labor, the demands upon his time, he was surrounded incessantly by conflict and controversy. Yet he never caved in or cracked up. Neither did he retreat from the hectic pace. He knew the foundation. Underneath, are the everlasting arms. You and I are people too who often live in a pressure cooker. Pressures encounter us at home, school, office, plant, even church. There are pressures from our parents, if not from our children, if not from our friends, and from our enemies. We are pressured by circumstances we can't change. Pain and suffering we can't escape. Schedules we can't keep. Tension headaches, upset stomachs, jangled nerves, stormy emotions, flagging spirits, weary bodies are all symptoms. But underneath are the everlasting arms. And if you fall into those arms. One day we shall have to say goodbye to the traveling companions of life. People who have walked at our side every mile of the way. Then we can confidently commend them into the everlasting arms. When our hour comes, we can no longer lift our head from the pillow. The everlasting arms will be there to bear us over the deep and through the dark safely to the other side. Happy art thou, O Israel, for who is a people like unto thee, a people saved by the Lord? These are words to see you through the days that lie ahead. Words to calm your troubled spirit and open your hearts again to the love of God. You people literally are beset behind and before, above and below, by the blessings of God. Who is like unto thee? A people saved by the Lord. The eternal God is thy refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. Amen.